always someone to fill my cup. For those that I've done wrong, for those that I've known for oh so long, I'll always hold a place in my heart for you.
I don't script anything, so that's why we don't send a script out. And so we talk a little bit before, and then from there, we just go straight into it. You know, you just never know. We just see where it goes.
I love it. And that's kind of the process that's been happening with quite a few podcasts that I've already been invited to speak on, was that there is no script. And I appreciate that. For what I talk about a lot is moving away from the scripted reality, right? Moving away from things that always have this predetermined path, like let things breathe and let things just, evolve the way they're supposed to. For I feel that's the nugget, right? That's where we get, is when we get into these spaces that things aren't so scripted. So.
Yeah, well, scripts, they kind of force the conversation.
Yes, they do.
You know? And what ends up happening when you force the conversation, people lose that authenticity.
Yeah.
With it, and that's the purpose of doing the podcast, is to show that authenticity. Because when people get in contact with you, so say, for instance, someone sees the podcast and they go, man, I can relate to that story so much. I'm going to contact this person because I already feel like that she gets me. And so that authenticity kind of shines through when people don't have to pretend or put on a mask because they don't know where you're coming from, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the scripts and everything. They just kind of force everything. They really do. They leave out details. And so I've been on one where we're scripted, and I literally had to stop. I said, I can't do this.
Yeah.
But why? I said, because this doesn't seem natural to me. Like, let's just have a conversation. And what ended up happening is that the script went out the window, right? When we continued and we just had a normal conversation, the person was able to unwind. And now this is their podcast. So I'm going, okay, well, maybe I should ask you some questions. Right? That happened. And at the end, see what I thought I was doing the podcast with you as the guest. I go, well, yeah. She goes, why do I feel like I was the guest on my own podcast? I was like, because you tried to script everything. And so what ended up happening is that when I disrupted all of that, you lost your train of thought, and it put you in a mindset of, you know what, you're right. Let's talk. Let's just talk. So tell me about yourself.
Okay. Well, Amy Gonzalez Nelson here. I am originally from New York and now live in the Carolinas with 2 boys, single mama, and was very impressed with your podcast specifically about grief. I feel grief has many different hats. It's not just the surface space of grief as we talk about, whether it be a loss of a loved one, right? Grief is loss of a marriage, loss of self when you are transitioning from one space and one journey to another. Grief of your identity as a woman, as a mother, as a human being. So my story is about learning to navigate and move through that wave of grief from a child till now, right? Making opportunities for myself to understand that grief is going to manifest itself in many different ways. Right. So I am a New Yorker through and through. My accent's definitely going to give it away. So I have been living in the Carolinas now 16 years, and it's been a journey in itself. It's been a journey to be in a space where at the beginning I was so used to things being so I had the world at my feet. New York, I have every culture, every walks of life, and I moved to the Carolinas and things are definitely very more separate. So in that space, I have an opportunity to feel grief about where I was and where I am now, and then the history behind it. So it is bringing more of an authentic journey for myself and wanting to find, what is my legacy? What is my authentic truth? How can I move in a space where knowing full well, this is my service and purpose on this planet, is to acknowledge that every moment that I have the opportunity to connect with another human being and to acknowledge where I am, that takes bravery, and that's the core and crust of what I talk about. Is everything, this foundation is all about mental wellness, and how can I connect with myself first, as well as connect with others, and acknowledge it for them, that it takes bravery every day to be a human being, right?
That is very, very true. Let's talk about the authentic self for a little bit, because I do believe that's very important. And coming from someone who have walked the road of grief and loss, and had to struggle as a man in society, lost my identity, purpose, myself. That part of me that drove me, right, to want to get up in the morning. I lost all of that, and I didn't know who I was. And it may sound strange to a lot of people, but I really didn't. I didn't know who I was supposed to be anymore. And reason being, I concocted this scenario in my head, after losing my parents and my younger brother and my son. I was going, wow, who am I now? You know what I'm saying? Because with my son, I knew that I was supposed to be a father, right? And so I knew that role as a man. I knew I was supposed to be a father. I did, authentic. As a son, I knew that I was my parents, and I knew I was supposed to be a son for them. And for my younger brother, I knew I was supposed to be a bigger brother for him. So I had all of these different areas of roles that I was so used to. And I later found out throughout my journey that grief changed that. It changed who I thought my authentic self was, right? And it's funny that you mentioned that, because this has been a topic of subject all week long. I was just talking to someone else about us being authentic in everything that we do, conversations, people that we meet, you know what I'm saying? And being accountable. So, and knowing when to give ourselves gratitude. You know what I'm saying? Knowing when to give ourselves, when you said that it's bravery going out and meeting new people, give yourself gratitude. You're right. That's brave. That takes strength to go out. Because I'm an introvert, right? So do I get excited when I meet new people? Yes and no.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I'm saying? Because there's a part of me that's going, I don't even want to know this person. Oh, I want to run away.
Yeah.
There's another side of me that is going, it's the curious nature of who I am that's helping me become more authentic. And I realized that part of myself in being authentic is that I love listening to people's stories. I'm a story collector, right? I love holding space.
Oh, one of my favorite terms ever is holding space.
Holding
space, I love that term.
Man, and understanding that, there's a realness in it that I can't take away from it. So none of this is about me. I'm a visitor. I'm just a mere visitor. So what am I supposed to do? Well, we've all visited family. We've all visited friends before. What do you do as a visitor? You visit, right? You just sit there and visit. No judgment, no train of thought that's going along with it, because I'm careful not to give people advice. I may like to give little suggestions here and there, but authentically, I am who I am because of that walk. And understanding everything that you just said, going out and wanting to meet new people, doing the podcast, so stepping outside of my comfort zone, right? And I didn't realize it then, but it was a doorway of me understanding truly who I am created to be in this world.
Yeah.
Right. My self.
No, I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's so nice. I mean, it's like, kindred spirit here about when was it for you? Like for me, I've been on this path 10 years now, right? It wasn't this, I started in my 20s. No, it was just 10 years ago that this aha moment really, got to me. But it was more of the voice of enough of where I am, enough of where I feel my vibration. It's not it doesn't resonate because it's not an authentic space. It's not who I really am. And when I put those pieces together, I always refer to Legos. Yes, I have kids, but that image made perfect sense to me where things fit. And that's what it was, is when I learned to let go and trust, and not only gratitude, but grace, giving myself grace of where I am and fully acknowledging where I am and saying, hey, you know what? It's time. One of the phrases I love about the South is they say, come to Jesus. I love it. I don't know where you are in the religious aspect of things, but it's this space of coming to true self, So when I had that moment, was it earth shattering? A combination. It was a big, vibrational sensation in my body.
Yes.
And but at the same time, it's time. And it's practice, and it's a continual commitment for self. It was an opportunity for me to, reflect back of who I was before and what I'm building going forward, and knowing that this is who I am and who I've always been, but not, not really vibrating in that or in that space. I do apologize. My thing keeps beeping if you keep hearing it.
You're totally fine. I'm surprised mine isn't going off, but it is Halloween. So.
So I do apologize. I'm trying to turn it off. But anyway, so, I get so excited when I hear another person speak in the space, because it is so, it's brilliant and it's wonderful. And I love to hear another person that is beginning to really listen to the brilliance of who they are. And that's what this is all about. And grief. I mean, man, I went through 9/11. I went through like a loss of my city, loss of people that I knew. And I lost a brother. I've lost, actually this past year, within 2 months, I lost a father and a dear cousin. I lost a stepfather 2 years ago. I mean, grief is always around us, whether it be a person or the act of, right, for self and a journey that you're on. So I've learned to really look at grief in a whole different light. And I learned to shift the perspective and say, one, it is life. This is life, right? Life is going to continue to go on, whether I participate or not. Exactly. And how could I learn from this, knowing that grief sucks. It's stinky, man, right? But I'm going to not push away from it. I know the only way to find a space of reprieve is through, and knowing that it's going to manifest itself years from now again, but the trigger's going to come up and I'm going to know how to deal with it then.
Exactly, yes.
And then there's another level of learning from that space. So it was as this moment of removing this cover, this veil of what growing up society and culturally and, generationally, how I'm raised to be is not who I am. Exactly. And right. Because the reality is they're only doing what they're told. Right. So one of the biggest books that totally shifted my life was The Four Agreements. I don't know if you ever read it. I have. By Don Miguel Ruiz. And it really, that to me was this huge eye-opener. But wait a second, all of this is made up, Yes. And we have an opportunity to change it at any moment. And that's when I really got to understand what holding space really meant. I'm going to listen, not listen to fix, There's
no fixing this.
Right. And it's and others, I'm just going to hold this space and just listen. Right. Ooh, what a difference that made when I really got to embody that.
Yeah. And it's funny that you said, everything that you're saying, I can relate to a T. Mm-hmm. You said that you've been on your journey for 10 years. I've just now realized I've been on my journey for over 41 years. Whoa. Right. I've been on my journey for over 41 years. I just realized this just 3 years ago. Since I embarked on doing the work that I'm doing now, walking with grief, holding space with men, understanding, the approach that men take when we go through grief and put it out on the forefront so men can actually see it and go, I never knew, right? And the reason why I say I've been doing it, I've been walking this road for 41 years because that's when I first experienced my own grief, right? Well, I experienced my neighbor lose her twin sons. They were burned alive in her apartment while she was downstairs talking to some friends outside. And we used to live right across the way. So right across the fence, I still remember just as I'm looking at you right now, and I just saw the fire come out there and I could just remember, watching this. And I was 6 years old and it didn't bother me. Like something inside of me, as painful as I'm watching everything, I'm listening to the screams, just as I'm talking, I can hear everything. And I'm going, wow, something happened. There was a sort of understanding that came with it at the age of 6. And then shortly after that, I was molested by my friend's, my mom's best friend's son. And so another set of grief, trauma, right? So when we look at the grieving aspect, and then throughout the years, my travels, the journey, and then going back and looking at these cookie crumbs, and the question was why, right? And from a religious aspect, I grew up in a Baptist church. Grandma was like, we go to church all the time, so I was the kid that always fell asleep in church. Getting whacked, get up, boy. So that's what we did, right? And it was, as I traveled throughout my life and been exposed to different cultures and different people, I realized that there was something missing, but I just didn't understand what it was. But I attracted all of these different people. People love to talk to me. Oh, what do you talk to me for? I don't want to talk to you. I was an introvert, because after all of that and having to deal with these things, I didn't want to have nothing to do with people anymore. So my motto was, I'm going to leave before you get to know me. So imagine that. 40-some years of just traveling through this world, not staying anywhere too long, sabotaging relationships when I can, because I didn't want, dude, you don't want to be with me. I'm messed up. That was my motto. That's who I told myself was. That was my authentic self at the time, through the different versions of myself. And when my grandmother's passed away, then my grandfather, I went, then friends, right? Losing friends left and right. I'm like, this is why I don't make friends. This is why this is why I'm alone. I don't want to deal with this anymore. So in my 30s, now really messed up, right? I've done 5 years in prison. 2 of those 5 I've done in solitary confinement. So imagine 3 years in public and 2 years in isolation. It felt good for me. I was like, I don't want to be done. I don't want to deal with nobody. But then what happened is that voice in my head started saying, hey, are you done? Are you done yet? I'm like, who are you talking to? So now I'm looking like a crazy person because now I am physically answering the voice in my head. Luckily, I'm in isolation. So for 2 years, I had a very deep conversation with myself, right? And then I get out of there and I'm homeless again. And it's like, okay, I'm back homeless again. I've lost everything. What do? Move. Let's move around, right? Then I got stuck. So I've been in Colorado since I was 17. 47 now, so 30 years, right? I've seen it all, get to where I am now. And I'm looking back and I'm going, this is who I'm supposed to be. And so the religion aspect of it over time, it started conflicting with me. And so I was like, but I still believe in God. I just don't agree with the religion. Because it was some sort of segregation there that I did not agree with. And that came from my travels and wanting to know everyone across the board, no matter what race you were. I just wanted to know who you were, right? And listen to you and things like that. And I was like, I can't do this. So my term is I'm coming to God. So he's been my guiding light. He's been my savior. He helped me manifest who I am now. He helped me understand. Even before I even understood, he goes, you need to vibrate just a little bit more. You're attracting the wrong people. You know what I'm saying? Okay, are you tired of being around these people? Like, yeah, then you need to go up here. Okay. So I move around now. I'm around people that are vibrating at a different level. I'm going, ooh, this is cool. Right. And then when that became this tragic thing, God says, I'm going to move you. You're not going to like it, but I need you. I need to place you somewhere else because I need your vibration to raise a little bit more. I have something for you. So he moved me around and it got interesting, right? It got really, really interesting because a part of me was hanging out with millionaires and another part of me was hanging out with gangbangers. So my vibration was off. It was conflicting with each other. And I went, I want this over here, but I'm afraid of that over there, but I'm used to this. So, but I don't want it because I'm tired of all the tragedy, all the trauma. I'm tired of seeing the things that I have seen. And God says, no, that's not who you are. Since you're not ready for over here, I know what I need to do. And I tell you what, man, becoming your authentic self, meaning you have to get on that road and you have to face everything. Right? And I'm being hit with everything in the household. We done ripped down the house. He done threw a couple cinder blocks at me. The kitchen sink. He even had one of those old claw bathtubs that he threw at me. Right? And I was like, hey, whoa, that wasn't even in the picture. He goes, I know. I just had to throw that in there anyway, right? Now, when we put that in a story aspect, let's break it down. And look at the authenticity of it, you know what I'm saying, and how most people compare it, right? Now I'm learning because now my reality has changed and it's changed over many, many times from the version I was from a child to now a man. Mm. You know, the question is, who am I? And as you're going through it, you know, like I had to go through being homeless. I had to go through 2 attempts of suicide. I've been homeless the majority of my life. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I finally had a key to put in the door that I can call home. And I ended up losing that, right? So now, you know, I have, you know, all of these things that are going on. So this is where the house is being torn down, right? Because I don't live there anymore. It's a figment of my imagination. This reality don't exist to me. What does? Let's put it together, right? So we go into that, and then I lose my dad and my younger brother when my son is born, right? That was, my son would have been 13. So 13 years ago, lose both back to back, my dad and my little brother just months apart. Then I lose my other uncle, which is my dad's brother. And then I'm losing, you know, aunties here and there throughout the journey, right? You know, as my son is growing up. So I'm only seeing things through the eyes of a father that's trying to become a man with everything else being pushed upon me, right? And I didn't know that it was grief. I didn't understand that. I was angry, you know what I'm saying? Having anxiety, still trying to man up, so to speak. We all heard this term before, right? You got to man up. Yeah. And then, you know, my son is born. His mom put me through the ringer. See, I found out what a narcissist was. I didn't know what that was because I never grew up with people that were narcissists. If I did, I didn't know. I realize it now, but I didn't know, you know. Mm-hmm. And so she put me through the ringer. We got to go through all of that. And then, you know, I get drugged through the mud by her, homeless again because she got me evicted, and losing jobs because she got me, just helped me out with that as well, right? And then my son's overdose, 6 years old, 6 years ago today. When he was 6 years old, when he was 7 years old, before he turned 7, he was 6 at the time. So Halloween 2015 is when he was overdosed. And find out that his pharmacist, so now there's trust issues, right? With pharmacists, his pharmacist messed up his medication. Okay. My son pulls out of it only to have him 9 months later to pass away. And no one can tell me why. So now here's that claw tub that hits you. Bam. The house is already torn down. I don't even know where this stuff is coming from. What I didn't realize is that God was having me walk that path to set me up to become who I am today. And he still set me up to become who I am tomorrow. So my authentic self is steadily learning from these things. So I can look at all these tragic things and I can give myself gratitude. I can find grace and the blessings inside of that walk. As hard as it is, right? As hard as it was, and as hard as it will be, I can still find myself sitting there and going, even though this is going on, I was blessed because I had this. So no matter what this is, I'm going to walk through this. And I may even have to fall a little bit because it's like a hurricane, right? It's messy. You push me. I've been rolled out the other side a couple of times and had to get back up there, brush myself off and go, I'll be back, right? And run right back into it because I'm like, we're not done yet. So now me and grief, this is our battle now, right? This is Tony being my authentic self. This is the way I perceive this world now, When I have to go through something like that, I'm coming in. I may hesitate for a second, but then I have to let grief know I'm coming. I am not going to walk away from you because what's inside of there is something that I can use to help someone else. And no matter how this looks when I go in, you can push me out the other side, but until you are done, I am not done. So let's strap it up. Let's go in there. I'm going to ride this thing out because eventually when you dissipate, the man that's standing on the other side of that is far better than the one who walked in, far more knowledgeable. And I know you can relate to this in some way, because I can see it. It's like, yep, you've been there, you've done it. You know what I'm saying? We've talked about it, so tell me the things that you learned walking through your losses and everything. You've experienced a lot.
Well, first, I am completely honored that you shared your life with me. Again, it is very humbling to sit in a space, to listen to someone else's life journey and to hear it in such a space where you fully take ownership of your life. And that is such an amazing gift, I feel, that we give another person. So I am very grateful for that. And it definitely aligns us all about, there is so much that we can learn from someone else and collectively do high fives and say, hey, I totally get, the sensation. And that, again, is what's so brilliant about connecting the way we do. So it's the tie that binds us all, though I may not see you, it's that vibration that's put out there, right? We all vibrate on a certain level, and it's the frequency in which we do it that connects us to folks. And that's how we know, I don't know about this person. It's not that there's anything wrong. It just doesn't vibrate with us. Right. And that's really learning to listen to that inner voice. So I have lengthy conversations with myself and, God, universe, whatever you want to use. For me, I was raised Catholic. I am recovering. I don't practice Catholicism anymore. I'm a very spiritual person, but I absolutely embrace the commonality of even all religions. For there was a time where I would have taken them all, like, give me everyone, Buddha, Allah, I'll take them all. For what can I learn? What is this going to give me a space of peace? And please, my mom still goes to church, and there's many times I call her up and say, could you give me a saint for such and such? Because, Catholic, they have saints for everybody. And it's, it's this beautiful way of, again, for me, learning how to shift perspective. And that really was the biggest caveat of all, is the idea of shifting perspective. Right. For that's a choice. I'm given a choice right now to decide how I look at something. So how my journey began to unfold, young, my parents divorced when I was young, my mom remarried, there's waves of identity too, about where do I fit in this particular family, culturally too, living in Brooklyn and then moving out to Long Island. So again, culturally, there's a whole different shift. And it's all these facets start to build up because they are a part of your identity, right? They are a part of who you are. But what comes with it is everyone else's, I don't want to say bad juju, but all of their own insecurities and their own questions and their own ways of life and their own tragedies. It begins to build up this multicolored coat, right? And everyone wears it. And it's like when you are yourself in a space of questioning, somehow you become interwoven into that person's jacket, right?
Yes.
And then the jacket gets bigger. And now we have a whole neighborhood wearing it, right? And then we have a whole society wearing it. So to really stop and ask yourself, hey, does this resonate with me? Not with my parents, not with this person. Does this resonate with me? How do I move in this space, knowing fully well that it is going to go against the grain for some?
Yes.
It's going to start ruffling feathers.
Yes.
However, this is my life, and I have a choice to decide where I go forward. So death, grief, death of a person, death of the person you were, death of a relationship, divorce, deciding to move forward as a single parent. I have 2 young men, little men that for me, it was more important for them to see what living an authentic life was like. Right. I could have totally went the role of I'm going to just stick with it, and keep the family together. But it's again, perspective shifting. It's not keeping the family together. It's understanding that they need to see what it is to step in their authentic space, right. Knowing what a true relationship looks like. Is it going to be difficult? Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it going to bring heartache? Of course it is. However, I am going to continue to move in a forward direction. There are sensations of feeling like I'm 10 steps back, but there's still this underlining feeling of someone's always got my back.
Yes.
And so though there was constant, and there has been for the past, I'd say 10 years of constant and consistent whirlwind hurricanes or tornadoes, like you said, I've learned to literally ride that wave.
Yes.
And those highs and their lows, but it's a constant movement. And that began to really put things together for me, that's my form of meditation. I love to move. I love music. Music moves me. So movement in general seemed to really align in where this path was going. So I'm going to move with it, and I'm going to move with some groove, and I'm going to go with the flow that is presented to me because it's mine.
There you go. Yes.
Right.
I love that. Yeah. I love that.
So the way I described it to some folks, because they ever said, well, did you ever collapse? I'm like, heck yeah. I mean, there were many times where I was to the floor, and the only way that on my knees or literally on the floor. And there were many moments where I would say, hey, do you ever get the sensation when you were a kid, when you would jump in a pool and you would go all the way to the bottom of it and you would look up, right? So you're laying at the bottom of the pool and you're looking up and you could feel the weight of the water on you, but you could still see the sky, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's a sensation that I could describe to people of how I felt in those really, really deep despair moments. Yeah. That was my moment to rest. I could still see, right? There's a way up, but I know that feeling of it all coming down on you. Mm-hmm. And now I have a choice. I could stay down there for as long as I want, but then there is only way to go, but up.
Yep.
Right?
So Brown says it.
I'm sorry?
I said, Les Brown says it. He goes, when you fall down, make sure you land on your back, because if you look up, you can get up.
Right. Yeah. Because now I see that path forward. Mm-hmm. And again, none of this, as I tell people, none of this came like this. I mean, It was not like I was felt this way one way and the next day I was ready to go. It was years at times, years of really trying to be like, what else can be given to me? Like, come on,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm animated, and when I speak, folks crack up. I said, laugh, because that's what carried me through, is like, geez, Lord, come on, give me a break. What else can you throw at me? And then something literally would throw and hit my head, or, things would collapse.
Yeah, I learned not to ask that question. I really have. They got that old saying, God puts his toughest warriors puts his strongest warriors through the toughest things, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of guys that I talk to, they're like, how strong did God really want me to be? Because this is coming really ridiculous. And I used to do that too. Like I used to mock him. I used to think that I had it all figured out. Like, you're not going to whoop me. You know, like I'm very resilient. You're not going to whoop me. At least that's what I thought. Right.
Yeah.
And so when something would happen, I go, is that all you got? And if something else would happen, I go, you miss, not this one. Boom, there you go. I'm like, hold on, whoa. How you going to push me into this? Now you cheating. And like you said, years. Like if I told my family my life in its entirety since I've been gone, because my family don't really know me. You know, my little sister don't really know me. We haven't spent a lot of time with each other. She's seen me in versions of my life, right? And so she never really understood what I went through when I was gone, when I was out here. And she goes, well, you know, when I told her a little bit of it, she goes, why didn't you ever come home? I go, because I didn't see the need of running to someone. I just didn't. You're not going to whoop me. God whooped me. He beat the holy crap out of me. It got me to a point to where he was like, you're hard-headed. Like, he and I still talk. He goes, you're hard-headed. I go, no, I'm not. I'm not hard-headed. You're just mad because I don't do what you want me to do. He goes, no, you're hard-headed. I'm trying to give you something and you're fighting me. I go, no, I'm not fighting you. Why don't you just give it to me? Like, we don't have to have a conversation about it. You just give it to me, maybe help the situation out. Maybe I won't fight so much, right? But what I realized that at that time is that it was part of it. He knew exactly what I was going to do. And that resilient part of me helped develop my voice, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? That resilient part of me became part of that vibration that I now have, right? And it's still going. That's the beautiful part. Like I look at the world and I just go, okay, I don't belong here. What do I need to do in order to change the location of where I am? Well, okay, I need to be around people that can teach me, you know? So I started attracting those people that started coming. And now those people that I was attracting that became my mentors and my idols are now my friends. Right? And it wasn't like they looked at me as I was less than them. It was like, oh, I see your vibration. And you want it as bad as if you want it as bad as you're vibrating, we're here to give it to you. Now, you know, it came from them teaching me to where now I mentor them in some aspects, right? And these are people that now, I would never have thought about that. I would never have figured that out had I not gotten knocked upside my doggone head, you know, a few times. That's why I went bald and everything. You don't think you get hit for so many times before the hair starts to thin out and
you know, I love what you say about, you know, just tell me, God, what to do. And I remember I used to say, you know, come on, universe, just give me a sign. And at the time it was like, and I still get there, you know, at points where I want the literal sign. I want the sign on the building. I want the burning bush. I want, you know, I want the literal sign. Yeah. Like, Amy, this is what you do next. And it comes down to surrender and trust that this is the path that I'm led to go. And there are moments where I feel like, you know, God, you know, I just know everything's going to be okay. And I will then turn to my therapist and I'm like, are you sure I haven't gone off the edge? Where I'm like, you know, I keep hearing everything's going to be okay, you know? And then that comes down to trust. I'm trusting that this is the path that I am supposed to be on. And it will shift because that's just the way things go. Oh, yeah. And I'll have clients that will say, hey, well, when do you think you're going to get it? I said, I'll tell you when I'm ready to, you know, ascend to the great beyond. There's no getting it. You're in it. Like, you are in this path. You are traveling this path. And yes, it's frustrating, but that goes along with being human. What's what makes humans so brilliant is the fact that, you know, they're all these dialogues and choices and what have you. But when we're ready to transition, you know, you transition by yourself. So you take nothing with you. You know, you're going wherever you go next on your own. Yeah. So this journey is one of choice, my belief. It's one of practice, right? You have to continue, you should be impeccable with my word, to continue to practice the practice of life, to know that you're given these tools and it's up to you to do it. And one thing that you said before, which I really love too, is this consistent space of you're going to keep going. You're going to, brush yourself off and then get back into it. What I refer for me is this, eternal flame. It's like this little pilot light that is consistently burning within. And even those moments where I swear it has completely, extinguished it, I just see it in mind's eye that it's still lit. And that's what keeps me going. And then it begins to rise and the fire gets big and I bring my soapbox with me and I'm out there protesting and I'm doing what I need to do. But it's a reminder that it's always on and I get to choose how high and low I want this to go. But each of us has that internal flame. It's just up to you to ignite it, right?
Yes.
And it's really, again, shift perspective of looking at your life has totally given you so many things to add to, not take away, to add to your growth, to connect to that authentic voice and to connect to that authentic truth. And it's up to you to decide what you do with it. And the brilliance of it is that when you are in that space, how much you then open to collaborate with others. It's not competing. We're here to collaborate with each other. There's enough for everybody.
Yes.
And that's the space that I get to is that, man, putting on your pants in the morning is brave, right? My pants are no different than your pants across the world. We're both in the same space of getting ourselves up to be an active participant in this world because we're all in it together, every single one of us. So it's this beautiful tapestry. I say this all the time that we create, but when we are conscious of it, that we're constantly weaving this beautiful thread from everyone in the world. When you're conscious of it, that's what makes it that much more richer, right? Is that you have this opportunity to connect with someone else and gain something from them because they have something you need. And then it's exchanged back that you have something that they need. So we're in this space to know that you specifically speak to men. That's amazing to me because I've got two little men who I want them to know that you absolutely feel what you feel. You embrace who you are, and it's not about a gender. It's about a being, right? It doesn't. So it's, I get very passionate about this because
please, by all means, I'm loving it.
It is such this, like I could breathe a space of where I wasn't before, and I had the opportunity to, and it is a work in progress daily of where I go from here. Mm-hmm. And truly hoping that I help someone, I hope that whomever hears this is like, dang, God, I could sit with those two and have a cup of coffee and share something, And that's what I love about podcasts is that it really is doing a broader connection to those who may not have the access to. So for all your fellow introverts, this is perfect, right? But those who,
for the most part, yeah.
For those who stay in, it's like, what can we do with this space? And for me, I end everything with a big brave on. That's my tagline that I use for everything is brave on, man, because, take that grooviness that you got, boogie on, brave on, because life is a movement and move with it, right? And
I love that.
Your grief, look at grief as not just the sadness, look at grief in gratitude and grace and growth, right? You could see grief in all those aspects of it. It is heart-wrenching. It is, there's brilliance in the chaos, it definitely, like I said, I just lost my father and my cousin, who was like my sister from breast cancer, within a month and a half of each other. What do you do with it, right? And I know for this time around, my cousin's loss, none of the other ones haven't affected me, but this one in particular because she's my age. She's 46 and she left 2 kids. And now her 2 kids have to go through grief with their mother dying from breast cancer that, there's that what if, it's environmental, so it's like all these things start going on in your head of like, then let that be the fire that stokes you to be like, okay, how can I figure this out? How can I help someone else?
Yes.
Because there's someone else there that turns your anger towards being supportive, right?
Yes.
Turn that anger into a space of, don't dismiss the anger, because anger is a very important emotion,
Mm-hmm.
but then decide what you do with it.
Yeah. Don't let it consume you.
Correct. Like, is it going to help you or hinder you?
Right. I just got in a conversation with somebody about that the other day. And one of the questions that he asked was, is this serving me in the right way in this moment? Right.
Yes.
Yes. And that's a constant question. I started asking myself that question some years ago when I was angry, and I can relate to those nights of just being curled up in a corner on the floor, things I was just so ashamed to tell people because people always had this image of me. I was the strong one. I was the one that everybody would come and talk to when they were going through something, because I didn't hold any punches. I wasn't disrespectful, but I'm not holding any punches. If you might be messing up right now, and this is from what I see, from what you just told me, maybe you should make better choices. So I was that guy. Right. Mm-hmm. And then I had to go through this and many, many nights of, sleeplessness and just collapsing and falling down on the floor, curled up in a fetal position, just bawling my eyes out. And until the sun comes up, and then have to get up and dry that off and go out there and put on a fake face because, of what people thought of who I was supposed to be, because I didn't know who I was supposed to be, and when we talk about being authentic in grief and things like that, I often tell people, there's no right or wrong way to do this. You're going to experience this from your perspective. I don't know what you're going through. I have an idea from my own experiences, but that's just mine. These are yours. This is authentically yours. Mm-hmm. And so when I started holding space for these men, getting that reality across to them, like, no, this is yours, man. I'm just a visitor. I'm just, I'm here for you. Let me serve you. And I realized that who I was. You know what I'm saying? I became a servant. I became a servant to my grief and to the people that I can share those tools with. So I live every day in servitude, and I'm okay with that. And then I hate the word leader. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people go, man, you're a leader. You're a leader. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I don't want you to follow me. I don't want you to follow me. I want to just walk with you in your journey till it's time for you to go on your own path. But I want to make sure that you know that every step of the way until you go off, that I'm here, that you have somebody that's willing to sit down with you, lay down with you, fight the fight with you. You know what I'm saying? Hold your hand, help you get up and brush yourself off and walk with you until it's time. This life isn't personal to me anymore. It's just not personal.
But I would say that, so part of the work I do too is I'm an intuitive healer. So I intuitively tap into people. So, energy, we're all energy, humans are energy. So we are connecting into someone else's energy. So leader is a word, right? Words are just words. However, I tell people I'm a bravery activator. I am a soul polisher, but we are each our own bravery activator and soul polisher. So we are each of us learning to not only activate for someone else, but for ourselves too. It's a cyclical movement, right? So your leading is a cyclical energy back to someone else who in turn will lead you, And so your journey is yours, but please, I hope from what I've heard from you, don't diminish your own light and what you are providing for others for. Yes, this is your service and purpose, but at the same time, it's so richly given to you to give out, but at the same time, man, acknowledge all of it too, because it's a life that's so well lived and continues to, right? I'm a firm believer in past lives. I believe that we carry things from others so that we, karma's not punishment. It's just recognizing behaviors that we need to let go of so we don't, carry with you to the next.
We got to talk about this karma thing. Okay. I may have a different perspective about that one.
Karma is not punishment. So when I learned to shift that perspective about it and understand that, okay, I know one of my karmic paths is releasing expectations from people, from situations, and patience. Man, my mom's still praying for patience for that virtue for me. It didn't come with it. So you know what? That's one of my karmic paths, right? I'm so impatient. However, I have learned to embrace that and say, okay, yes, let me really dig in deeper about what it is to have expectation. Why? It's because of how the environment and what we are born into and what we are influenced by, right? It is like the Four Agreements. This is all a made up dream of how we should be as a society, as a man, as a woman. So when you're not given that choice, right? And this is how you're raised to be. And now all of a sudden you're waking up and you're like, wait a second, none of this makes sense to me. Then the journey begins. And for me, this is my belief, is where I believe our authentic journey begins. Mm-hmm. Because we start asking those tough questions, right? We start asking ourselves, wait a second, none of this makes sense. It doesn't resonate, right? The person next to me, it's their journey, what they're going through. It has nothing to do with me. However, I'm going to meet them where they are.
Yes. Oh my
right?
God.
Meeting people where they are and not questioning and not having an expectation of them, because it ain't my life. That's yours. However, I will be here to listen and hold space if that's what you need. Giving something what they need, not what you think they need. Another lesson that I had to learn, right?
Yes.
No one comes in with a script, right? And it's like, where's my 101 book? I'm still in the Cliff Note version of life,
I'm still in the introduction.
Yeah, or like now, right? Like filling it in. And it journeying through this and connecting with people that I have. And yes, I used to live in London. I love to travel the world. I'm a first generation Cuban American, my mom's Italian and Irish. So culturally, I love Europe. I love it. I find that, life is just, I don't know, so much more richer over there than it is here.
It's simple, right?
Yeah. And so I say this to say that, I don't want to, not so much giving people the benefit of the doubt, but just saying people are people, and that let me hear how, what you went through to be where you are, and not, put any judgment behind it, because there's no place for me to judge. It's not me. It's not my life.
So I love that, because I've developed that train of thought as well. I always tell people, look, just be who you say that you're going to be. So be who you say you are. I can accept that a lot more than I find out that you're not, because then I have to question everything else about you. So I tell people, I said, if you're a murderer, own it. You are, right? You know what I'm saying? Let's be truthful. If you're going out there taking lives, you're a murderer, right? If you're a murderer, I can accept that a lot more than having to find out, later on, because then I'm gonna feel like you tricked me. So, and it's just like with anything else. I'm going, just be who you say you're going to be. Let me make my own decision. Don't trick me, because if you trick me, you're not going to like the joke, right? Because it's not going to be funny anymore. And so, walking this journey and meeting the people that I have, I've met a lot of people, and really good people, not so good, and some not so good people, and I became okay with that. Like you said, people are people. I just say, just be honest. Be honest. If like for me, people ask me, what's my biggest flaw? It's like, I have commitment issues, right? I own it. That's mine. So therefore, when it comes down to relationship, just understand that I have commitment issues. It's going to be some work. I'm still working on it, And so women are more susceptible to, or people, when they're honest in their authentic self, they're more susceptible to be more accepting.
Well, I will challenge you for a second and say that honesty is, that's a difficult space to own.
Yes,
Or a lot of folks don't understand what the word honesty really is.
That's very true.
Or they have developed a story in their head of whom they think they are than what they really are, right? And that's also from circumstances, right? What they had to build their lives around in order to survive. There are those parts too. And for me, I really believe that the magic is in the vulnerability, right? When we truly step into a space of vulnerability is when it all happens.
Right.
Ownership, shame, all these words that we have put such emphasis on about a human being it's become our detriment and has put us such in a space of conflict with our fellow human beings, right? That this is, in my belief, why we are where we are. So what may come easy for me of saying accepting people, it's really just, that's your life. And this is your choices that you have made. Really not taking things personally, that's still an ongoing deal, right? It's years and years of, being taught and led to believe that, you care what other people think and you're making assumptions and judgments, because who has really embraced the idea of being fully honest?
That's very, very true.
Right, because there's many aspects of it, whether it be your economic standing, whether it be your social standing, whether it be, what we just decide about gender, right? I mean, how we genderize things. Man, I think people don't really grasp the idea of being human. It takes a lot.
Right, yeah.
It takes a lot. And it's those moments where, like I said, it takes, to me, bravery. And it's my purpose to try and shift that perspective on that word, where we think bravery is a military personnel that's saving us, going into war, or someone running into a burning building to help someone. To me, that is the distinguishing between courage and bravery. Bravery is getting up every day and saying you want to participate in life.
Because as a human being exactly. As a human being in this world, getting up on a day-to-day basis, you know what I'm saying? Or just getting up and wanting to face the world, because you don't know what's going on, right? We have this idea when we go to sleep, but when we wake up, there's nothing else there. So there's a sense of fear that comes along with that.
Yes.
Being a human, it's like, oh my God, what's going to happen? It takes people a little bit to gather their thoughts, because your brain is still going, okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like the brain don't know neither, you know what I'm saying? So now we're in a state of confusion, and that's brave. That's brave to get up and face that on a day-to-day basis. Because for one, you've already accomplished a few things that you should have grace for yourself with, and that's getting up.
That's getting up.
That fear, right? You know what I'm saying? And then adjusting yourself, right, to who you are going to be for that day. That right there, that little ritual right there can take hours in the morning.
Yes, it can.
I argue with myself.
What was that?
I argue with myself.
There are moments, do I argue sometimes? Probably. I do know that I definitely connect the space of breath, right? If I'm choosing to take a breath when I get up, right, then I'm on the right side of the dirt, right? Like I'm still here.
That's true.
And I have dealt with suicide in my family and in my life. And so I know that firsthand what it is to make that conscious choice to decide you're done and you want to transition. And even that was a learning to understand that, when people use words about depression, for me, it's not depression, it's deep rest. Your body needs deep rest, right? And it's not a disease. Your body is in a dis-ease, right? So I'm learning to shift perspective of what we have categorized mental wellness all this time. To me, mental health is total body health. Your brain's in your body. It's like, it's a given. So emotions, like you said before, though I can't relate to how your grief was, but I can relate to the emotion of sadness. I can relate to the emotion of deep despair. I could relate to that, right? All humans, what it is, loss. But the next step of how the act happened, of course I can, because I'm not you and I haven't been there. But to me, that's where it brings this idea of expectation and assumption down, and just, man, let's just all get along. Let's just all work together.
Yeah, I feel the same. Let's just all get along and do this thing. But then, there adds that sense of complication, because a lot of times people don't know how to get along.
Right.
A lot of times, we struggle with some of the most simplest things as well. And not understanding that most of the things that we struggle with, they really don't exist, right? It's a mental battle that we have within ourselves, within the world. Like you said, self-conflict, right? We have that consistent conflict, especially when we have not walked the path of understanding who we are, right? You know what I'm saying? My grandmother gave me a name. That's all it is. It's just a name. The person behind the name is who I am. Mm-hmm. It's who I am from the bottom of my feet to the top of my bald head, balding head. So we're not going to talk about that. But it's everything in between. You know what I'm saying? It's every fiber. I was talking with someone about last year. I was doing a podcast with her, and she said something that really resonated with me, and hopefully it resonated. She goes, "We live in 20% of our body. We live in our head, right?" And everything that she had said, it finally clicked on me. So sometimes you just got to be around the right people and go, "Man, what is this thing? What does this mean?" And then somebody comes up and go, "Oh, the whole time it was right there." I'm like, "Yeah, it was." And so then, because I had this idea, I was like, why is everything trapped here, but I feel everything down here? There's something not connecting. So I started putting this stuff together. And so the challenge for me was making the connections, and then rewiring them. So I made better connections.
Yep. And that's the Lego piece that I talk about, is that when you click it and when you connect, so I teach a movement practice called NIA, which stands for Neurological Integrative Action, and it has 9 different movement arts. And again, I told you before, I love to move. I love music. So when I put the practice specifically talks about moving in your body's way. So on the surface, on the intellectual space, I got it. But then when I went to take my certification to actually teach this, and I got it on a cellular level, it was like, oh my God, where was this all the time? And that's that mind-body connection. Right. So when I put all that together, it's like our body holds memory on a cellular level. And that's also where grief lies. Well, grief will manifest in itself, and you will be out one day, and an incident that occurred 20 years ago is going to manifest somewhere else. And you're like, well, wait a second, when did this come up? But it's learning to connect that dots and then saying, thank you, body, right? Connecting the body and releasing the mind. Now that's, again, fear. Shifting the perspective to make fear your friend. Let fear be the motivator. Right. Let fear be the path to lead you to where you want the understanding. When we talk about Eastern medicine and energy meridians and, where other cultures are tapping into the energy part of the body, heck, if they've been doing that since the beginning of time for them, it's still working. They're doing something right. Right. That's, again, that collaboration of, hey, my shoulder hurts or my chest hurts. It's not just muscular. Let me go another level deeper. What am I feeling in this space, right? Let's go another level deeper, right? I mean, there's so many layers to it that we could have so much relief for, but that takes practice and time and choice. And in the society that we live in, where there's so much incoming and the need for things to be so quick, that instant gratification, a lot of folks miss it. And again, that's okay. That's their path. Maybe they don't get it this lifetime. Me, I'm choosing it to get it this lifetime.
Yeah, I'm not doing this over again.
Right.
We're going to do this right this time, right? We're not coming back. We're not going to do this, because I don't think I need to go through another lifetime of this one, right? We don't have to keep repeating that. I get it now, right? And you're absolutely right. I really just stumbled into what I was supposed to do, right? And it was one of those things I had to question. I really had to question. Because when the idea came to me of saying, hey, I'm going to start a nonprofit, and it's going to be based around doing grief support for men. Who wakes up and does something like that? Who does that, right? Because it's been attempted several times over. And most men that I've talked to that have started that journey often gave up. They were like, men don't talk. You're right, man. We don't talk in large groups. Let's change that a little bit. We do talk. You're just not going to hear what you want to hear. That's all. Men don't like to be feeling like that they're forced into anything. So now I have to change the perspective. What do I do with this, right? So I started putting it together. I was going, why am I overcomplicating this? You know exactly what you're supposed to do. Do it. That fear kicked in and it kept redirecting me. And I went, I'm not going that way. I'm going this way. And fear says, no, you're going to go this way. I go, no, you don't understand. I can see the path right here. Why would I go there? That's scary, right? And then finally, fear stepped into the path and went, now you can't avoid me. Because if you look around you, you just walked this path on your own. So the road that you just put there is yours. No one else has walked on it. And it's deep enough that if you want to go back, it's going to be harder going back than it is coming forward. It's time to face what you're scared of. And what I realized that on the other side of that, it clicked, like you said, that light, and it started shining bright. And then that's all I can think about. So every time now, when something scares me, I laugh about it. Mm. I just go, you do realize what I'm about to do. Challenge accepted. Mm. And that's what it's like. It's like I see it, and I'm going, and I feel that little butterfly inside of there, and it excites me. Mm. It excites me to see what am I so afraid of, right? And that has been the source of my success, walking along this journey and starting the podcast and having the idea, this creative thought in my mind of why not? These stories can be someone else's survival guide. Why not? People should be able to hear this. Why? Because it's of value. It can add value to your life. This person is of value. Look at what's been given to you. And for me, that was the conversation was going, okay, who can I give this to? And that gift inside of me manifested itself along with grief. And the grief became the lesson and the wisdom and the knowledge to keep adding in those, to keep building this beautiful Lego piece, right? As you said before, keep putting it. I'm building the Death Star, right? That's what I'm doing. I'm building the Death Star.
That's one of the biggest Lego sets out there, by the way. So.
Thank you. Right. So you know exactly where my mindset is. I'm building the Death Star, right? And I'm still working on the intricate details in the inside of the computer boards and everything. I worked on a little bit on the outside and everything. I'm not doing too bad, but I'm still working on the Death Star insides, right? And so when I get done, I can just see the complete thing. But all the pieces are still being handed to me. Mm. That toolbox is still growing. That Death Star is still manifesting itself from the inside out. And I just know when it's done, it's going to be this beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Because once it's done, my purpose here is no longer. It's no more. Right? I've achieved exactly what I said I was going to do. I've lived a life of purpose. Being my authentic self.
Do you leave room though for chance to come in?
I do.
Yeah.
I do leave room for chance to come in for the simple fact of I understand that it's part of the journey. Right. I can focus all on this right here. Right. You know what I'm saying? And that's all beautiful. Now, if you really want to dive into that, well, let's go there. I do leave room for chance because of the simple fact of chance brings the other pieces that I need. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Chance is those unexpected nuggets that are waiting, right? It's like the diamond in the rough, right? It's those pieces that as you're chipping away in this one path and you're being truly focused, but yet over here are all these other nuggets that are waiting to be discovered. Mm-hmm. It's again, allowing that space to breathe, So opening up that same body too about allowing things to come through. I know that for myself, my journey is still allowing those pieces to come through, even though I'm like, nope, I know this is the way I want to go. This is how I want it to unfold. And I would say that what I have built has changed quite a number of times since then. But I want to touch on before what you said about, your journey. Someone said to me a couple of years ago when I was deciding, where am I going to take this? I want to help people. My company is Bravery Brigade. We're a brigade of many people that are brave, and it is woman focused. But then it was like, well, I've got 2 boys, how do I incorporate that? And I was so in the head, right? I was all stuck in here about how I wanted this to all manifest. Mm-hmm. And this woman said to me, you know what? You need to own your story more. And I really didn't understand what that meant at first. I'm like, what do you mean own my story? And she's like, you need, or it would be beneficial, important word, to allow your story to lead you to where things are supposed to go.
Yes. For
you. And at first I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm so private. I don't want people to know my personal stuff and, family. And so I, again, got all stuck in my head. And then when circumstances as they unfolded with my life, and I was definitely in a motivated space to share, the share became the connection. Because then folks are like, oh my God, I had no idea you went through that. I totally needed to hear that today. Yeah. And I'd be like, what? This is my life that I'm dealing with. And when I started creating my own personal toolkit, you mentioned that before too, I created a process called the 4 P's to Peace. And that's what my practice is based on. And it was something I created for myself to get through every day. And the first P was shift perspective. And then it goes into practicing life, then it goes into patience, then it goes into purpose, but just for the day. And that's what I would go through my own little toolkit every day. Well, when I started using these words when I was teaching a class, they'd be like, well, where did you hear that? I was like, oh, it's my own stuff, just to get through. Well, can you teach me that? I'm like, really? I'm like, you really want to know? And they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh my God. That's when it really began to open up that's the divine piece, that it's like every one of us, if you choose to own your story and share it, and you can do it in a way, that is respectful, whatever, you'd be surprised how many people need that safety line because you just provided it. Right. Yes. So now I'm giving permission to someone else to do the same.
So I love that as well, because again, these conversations that we have, if you heard the last person that I talked to, the last person that I had on, Kellen, those things that you just said right there, those questions that he put out there pretty much just line up with everything. So one of the questions was that, are you telling an authentic story of your life? Right. And it just so happened we get up here, we start talking about authenticity. So for me, that's a sense of gratitude and humility, because I'm like, wow, I get it. I hear you. Right. Okay. So now, okay, let's unfold this thing. And you just hit everything on the head. I'm just going, if I told anyone, no one will ever believe me.
But you know what? To me, there's no coincidence. So I believe that those that you have connected with prior to me, and I'm just reaffirming, that energy is out there. Right. And that is beneficial to you and me, but also to your path, right? It's this continuation of what you're doing. You're spot on.
Yeah.
You are exactly where you need to be, and where you are sharing that teachings of being authentic, because not only you're hearing it from me, you're hearing from someone else. And it's like, all of a sudden it's like the whole world is in this space, because it is. Right. And that's, to me, where we connect on an energetic level, is that when you put it out there in the universe and you're riding that wave, right, and you're grooving along in the space of authenticity, you're going to start getting other ones to want to dance with you. Does that make sense?
I don't dance with people, though, because I'm tall, I'm 6'4", and I'm lanky. So I don't know if I'm probably the only Black guy on the planet that don't dance. I have no rhythm.
You could dance sitting down, right? We could all be dancing together.
You know what? When ain't nobody around, I would tear it up.
Well, there you go. And that's what you need to do. So that energy people are going to feel. So
yeah, I'm my own private dancer.
Hey, you know what, sir? Do what you got to do.
That's what I got to do. It's moving that grief, man, moving grief through the body. I didn't even know that I was doing it before until I got into grief work.
Yeah.
And things just started making sense, certain songs, like I have a song that I used to listen to with my son. We used to sing it all the time in the car, normally with the windows up because neither one of us could sing. Right?
What song was that?
Nothing wrong with that. We just don't need people judging my family, that's all.
What song was the song that you guys sang?
It was 7 Years by, I can't even remember his name now, but it was 7 Years. Lucas Graham.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Me and my son's favorite song that we used to sing going to church or, going somewhere, that song comes up. And normally he was sitting in the seat next to me and everything because he was tall for his age. So, I used to get away with a lot of stuff. And so and that song would come up and he would turn it up and we'd just be singing to each other, going back and forth. Now, people would see us and I didn't really care. I really didn't. And so when that song, when my son passed, the song became a very miserable song for me.
Oh.
It became very miserable because it was so much truth in there. And I used to always imagine him sitting next to me singing it. Then it changed on me. So my grief changed, my grief became more authentic within me than I became more than I was with myself.
Okay, so I'm going to jump in real quick because and that's what I was doing before. Remember how I said that I'm an intuitive healer and I tap in. So I just want to tap in and tell you, do you know what the number 7 means?
No.
Do you mind if I tell you?
Yes, please.
Okay, so 7, and again, I don't know if you're going to add this to your podcast. So 7 is the number that opens one up to the realm of divine vibration. 7 includes the enlightened power of chakra energies, rainbow spectrum frequencies, and it is the realm of intuitive feeling. So I say this to say that to me, there's no coincidence that your child, right, your son is in itself a spirit guide, an angel given to you for the time that it was meant to be, sad as it is.
Yeah.
But that particular song, 7, right, 7 years, it is part of the catalyst of where you are now, right? And the gifts that he's going to continue to give you on an intuitive level. Do you dream of him?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time.
He's still there. So please pay attention to the dreams that you have and what he's telling you, because he's assisting you and guiding you towards the ultimate purpose, because it's going to change again. I'm going to just throw that out there. So your purpose is going to shift again. But specifically, there is I'm getting in, and again, if this is too much, just tell me to stop.
No, you're good.
Okay. I'm getting that right now it's just with like older gentlemen, like gentlemen in their 30s and 40s and up.
Yeah. Well, 20 and up.
Okay. You're going to go lower. You're going to get young too, where there's going to be fathers that need that assistance with their sons, and then sons that need that fatherly guide, if that makes sense.
It's funny that you say that because that's what I dream about. I dream about going to the next level, right? I dream about taking this thing that's manifesting itself and giving it to whomever needs it. So I'm very open to the journey and the directions that it goes in, Well,
then take this as confirmation that is where this is leading. And your son is ever, if not present all the time with you, specifically to guide you with this. And so your son, I get, is a very old soul. So he had a very old, again, I don't know him from anything, obviously, but was he a kid that was just like an old soul? Like he wasn't just...
He was just like me, right? Because I always felt that I was in the wrong generation, because of my intellect and the way that I talk to people. I didn't necessarily get along with guys my age. My son was the same way, even though he was a very social butterfly.
Doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
He's very much so. He's beyond his age. So all the more reason why, again, you are meant to have the son that you have. Mm-hmm. And the way I believe of energy, he physically is not here, but he is absolutely still here energetically.
Oh, yeah, so he lets me know.
Yes.
I'm still arguing with him.
Okay. So he's going to continue to let you know, but he's also going to, so I want you to say, is there something like a smell that would relate to him that you could just like, oh my God, I think he's here.
Oh yeah.
Has that happened recently?
It happens all the time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
it usually happens when he's throwing stuff off my counters.
Okay. So that's him.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
please know that there is a tremendous connection that his role is still ever much present, though not physically, it is definitely energetic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to continue to manifest as you continue to step into that space where I feel like you're tiptoeing. It's gonna open quick.
But I don't understand the space. So I've been offered to mentor kids in grief and everything. And I had that offer several times. And I was like, I don't understand it. Like there's people more suitable to do this than I am.
Why?
Because for me, I hate to imagine a child now, it's going to sound crazy. I hate to imagine a child going through that much. I know it's a reality. And the scary part about it is watching my son go through what he had to go through and had to relive that with him. It became a trigger for me.
Okay. And that's warranted. However, please don't dismiss it. For I believe, again, this is all I'm picking up, is that there's more to it than you are giving yourself credit for. And that's something you have to work towards yourself whenever you're ready. However, you have it, and you have it in spades because of what you went through. And you are not only going to be guided by yourself, but you're going to be guided by your son. Because we're placed here, again, my belief, for a reason, right? And the things that we, of course, look at as tragedies, can we find a space to look at it in an alternative perspective of benefiting the greater good, right? Because ultimately, my belief is that we're all spiritual beings, right? We're all wanting to transition to where our next space is. But it takes us to work with us to get there.
Right.
So there is so much wisdom and knowledge that you haven't tapped in yet, that is absolutely needed. So the fact that you're already getting offers is, to me, it's beginning to open for you to say, don't not look at it.
Well, I haven't turned it down. I'm still trying to figure out if, say, for instance, if I take the opportunity to go in that direction and things like that, what's going to be my approach, because for the last few years, it's always been men. So that approach right there, coming from men in society, I knew exactly, how to maneuver around there to start building that curiosity within men to make them angry enough at me. Now, I do this on purpose. I make them angry enough at me to where they come and join the group, because my groups are free to join, but they come in not because they're angry. At least that's what they think. But it's the curious. Who are you to tell me?
Yeah.
Right?
It's a challenge.
Yeah, it's a challenge. It's a challenge. If you think that I'm lying, come and join the group. But other than that, forget you. Right? And men will go, whatever, I'll come and join your group just to cuss you out. You're right. Okay. They get there and they're like, well, I can't really cuss them out because now I don't even understand what I was mad for. I was like, yeah, I know, right? So I know that aspect of it, and there's a reason why I don't take that approach with women, right? Because my approach is rough, rugged, you know what I'm saying? I'm in your face. We're going to,
right. It doesn't have to be, but what are you worried about?
I don't want to mess up a kid. That's I don't want to mess them up, because we have enough people that's going to do that for them, right? Unfortunately, that's the reality of it.
So you're trying to already plan something for something that's ahead. Can you allow it to come?
Again, did we not talk about this before?
So I'm just going to throw it out there.
No, I realized what I was doing. Right? And I was like, now do you realize what happened there? That, like, I'm proof. Like, but I'm not perfect. And the reason why I'm saying that,
There's no
because
such thing
anybody
as
that's going to be listening to this, I want them to understand I am not perfect. Like, yes, I'm very knowledgeable in a lot of areas, but I'm not perfect. I still go through these things. You know what I'm saying? Those opportunities that are being presented, I get speaking engagements that sometimes I get nervous on, because I don't know how to approach it, but I know that's what I want to do. I always imagine myself standing on the stage talking to people about exactly what we're doing right now, grief work and trauma, and helping people find those tools and find their way in this life. And then, there's opportunities to do voiceovers, right? People go, hey man, you got a beautiful voice. I would love to have you do this for me. I'm like, oh my God, y'all don't know what you're getting yourself into. So again, that's that side of me that is going, okay, I argue with myself. I realize what I'm doing, and I realize where it comes from. Do it stop me from doing it? No. I'm still working out the legalities of it, I guess.
Okay. So when you are in that space, do know that when we talk about being impeccable with our word, right? Mm-hmm. One of the 4 agreements is everything that you put out there is a vibration that's going to hinder you or heighten you.
Yes.
So when you are in a space of, am I good enough? Am I going to be able to do this? I don't want to mess up with a kid. Then you're putting doubt in there. So you've already negated it before it's even happened.
And you're absolutely right. So,
so all I'm saying is be open. Again, be open for it to come through, because I could see it clearly, right? I'm in the space here where I could see it clearly that you have built where you are. But like I said, are you open for chance? And I said that specifically because I wanted to say what we're talking about now is that a crossroad is beginning to open up for you. Mm-hmm. And that this is specifically tied to your son. Again, 7. I see connection everywhere. People think, oh, well, it's just a flower. Well, I see flower as a sign for something else, right? So I'll take it. 7, divine spiritual guidance. You are gifted for this particular, your life, all that you went through is prepared you to give your tremendous amount of knowledge to someone else, and a child specifically. Because why? Now more than ever, I truly believe we need children to get back into that space of intuition and knowing, for that is how we survived as humans way back when, is when we trusted the voice inside, as opposed to, now I'm not opposed to science, but I am for melding those two together, right?
Yes.
You need a bit of the woo-woo and you need a bit of the scientific, right? To get us on this path together is trusting yourself as opposed to what you hear, right? Mm-hmm. And the idea of perfection, it's just a word. There's no such thing as perfection. It's doing the best that you can every day. And it's what you do, whether it be, again, negating good or bad, it just is, well, I messed up this one, but what can I learn from it?
Very true. No, I'm laughing because I'm going, wow, man, like, okay, I knew this. And now that you put it out there, I can't do anything except for just laugh and go, she got me. It happens, it happens, because I admit it to myself as well, like I do. I still, it's a process for me. I fell in love with the process, but I also fell in love with the debate of it as well. Like, because the voice inside of my head has gotten me in trouble a lot of times, right?
I hear you on that debate.
Yeah, my voice has gotten me in trouble.
Well, I carried my soapbox around, man. I would whip that thing out any chance I got to, have an argument with someone. And even when I was younger, like my brother was always the very patient one. And just as I'm about to say my piece, he would whip me back down because oh no, she's got a mouth, right? Because I want to defend the world. I want everyone to be, equal and whatever. So now it's finally manifested to where it needs to be. However, this is what I love about this. When I say I'm a bravery activator, man, I'm just the catalyst. It's all you, right? I'm just here to help activate it in someone else so that it is now your chance to activate it into someone else, right? It's a cyclical movement. Yeah. It's all about movement for me, right? One of my favorite songs that gets me going is Stevie Wonder's, it's, oh my God, I'm just going to the bank is.
Look, you mentioned Stevie. I'm already there.
Don't worry about it.
Generation, girl. But I guess that's your generation too.
So don't worry about a thing is my favorite song. And that is on my ringtone. And I hear that in my head all the time. It's when I'm in this space, is don't worry about a thing, right? Because it is. there could be so many other things. I could not be here. I could be in the great beyond, right? So I'm not going to worry about anything, but I'm going to keep that groove. I'm going to keep that momentum going. Because if I'm moving, right, even breathing, when people are like, well, you're not doing anything, you're breathing. Yeah, you are. You're still alive.
You're doing something because, there's a lot of people that didn't wake up this morning, you know?
That's
and
correct.
I have a saying whenever I talk to people, random people and things like that, and they come up and they say, Tony, how you doing today? Or, when people don't even know me, they just want to talk. How you doing today? And I always look at them, I go, you know what? I'm still 10 toes above ground.
Yeah.
I'm still 10 toes above ground. So I'm doing pretty good. And I guess when I'm not here and I'm 10 toes below ground, I guess it don't really matter after that, do it? And they just kind of look at me, they go, I've never really heard anybody say that before. I go, how do you feel about it? They were like, you mind if I take that? I'm like, of course, it's yours. By all means, use it. Tell other people. And that's just my way of reminding not only myself, but other people, don't take the day for granted. Don't take it for granted.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that before, and almost lost that battle. I really almost lost that battle. I'm not afraid to admit it now. I took life for granted because there was one point in time before I started doing things the right way. I did a lot of things the wrong way, and I made a lot of money, right? And was successful in those areas and things like that. But there was something missing. I knew that's not what I'm supposed to do. And then I got shot, right? And then I got shot again. And then the third time I got shot, they really shot me. They shot me over 22 times. I was going, oh my God, and I'm still here, right? Then I lost everything. And then I would go try to rebuild it again the same way that I did. And I realized it wasn't working. So I say that to let people know, don't squander the things in life. Do not take them for granted, because when you don't have them is when you're going to miss them the most.
And to me, that's where I feel like everything is tied up in this beautiful bow of what grief is. Mm-hmm. Because how we define grief, I went through a month after my separation, I was diagnosed with cancer, and I had an opportunity. So not only are we talking about divorce, but we're talking about, well, now I have this disease that I've got to figure out. Mm-hmm. And trust the powers that be to move me in this right direction. And as I was driving to get my surgery, passing the hospital, and this thought came through. I said, at this very second, someone is living, being born, and someone is dying. Mm-hmm. But life is continuing to move.
Yes.
And that's where that movement piece came in, is that I could sit here in a space of grief. I could decide if I want to continue or not. But regardless of my choice, life is going to go on whether I'm in it or not.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right.
The sun will rise and set every day.
But it's hard. It's hard when we try to put that in a perspective of grief and try to make others understand it, because even though it's still there, and we both experience. I know I have, and so I can only speak from this perspective. When my mother passed away, when my mom had a stroke 2 years after my son, and I traveled back to Virginia to go see her. And so I was there. My mom was in the hospital. And now you got to remember the image I had of my mother before then. So my mom was 6'4", and just this. She had to keep moving, right? You couldn't hold her down. It didn't matter what was going on, and so she was constantly always moving. Walking, talking to people, all these things. And so I hadn't seen my mom in probably 6 years at that time. So I went back home only to see my mom in the hospital. So now my perception of who she was is there, but it's fading away. Mm. It's fading away because now I'm faced with a different reality. And I was very hopeful, my mom was going to come back and things like that. And I remember the doctor came in a couple of days later and he said, this is what we're looking at. Yeah, I go, well, she was doing good last night. He goes, yeah, she really wasn't. She was getting hit with many strokes, which is really building up to this one over here. When this was hit, she's done. So I started thinking about that, and I started going, when she passed away, I was there.
Yeah.
Right. I was there. I held her hand. I told her that everything was going to be okay. And now I look back on it, I'm looking at my life and I'm going, whoa, that was a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because the grief of that and trying to move forward, you know what I'm saying? Because everything for a long time after that and just everything else, time stood still.
Yeah.
You know, my uncles, you know what I'm saying? And everybody had to go back to their homes because they have family, even though they was up there the whole time. I'm thinking to myself, I go back to Colorado, I have no one, right? What do I do from here? What? And I'm watching people move around and I'm just sitting there and it was like a picture. Everybody's moving. Fast forward, you know what I'm saying? I'm just the only one sitting there going, okay, why are you guys still moving? Like, you don't realize that I'm going through something right now. I need you guys to stop moving. And that little voice says, no, time keeps going. Mm-hmm. Eventually, you will keep up and it won't seem to move as fast anymore. He goes, but right now, what you're seeing is your grief talking to you. Mm-hmm. It's the universe trying to give you something. And it needs you to slow down. Matter of fact, it actually needs you, as you said, underneath the water, you got the water over top of you, you can see everything. There was a time for that I needed to just lay there and take a rest.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And once I caught my breath, and it took me a little bit, and once I caught my breath, I began moving, and then I realized nothing really stopped. But as I started moving, I realized what I brought back with me. You know, as I start to bounce back into place in society, only to realize that the place that I was trying to bounce into was mine all along. Mm. Right? That's mine, you know? And I bought that and I was like, well, now I get it. Now I get it, because now that I'm back into this present time with everyone, and I'm in this space with everyone, now I can listen to what everyone else is going to. So now I can take that, apply it, give it to someone else, and keep moving that way. You know, keep moving in the direction that I'm supposed to be in. Stay in the spot that I told people this year, I'm in my lane. I got my gear. I'm not stopping, right? You know, and I took that off of a song. You know, it was like
no, but that's again, I don't know. I think it's I think Picasso said something along the lines of that. You know, we borrow, like artists borrow from each other, and I love it, and because it is. I mean, I borrow lines all the time, but I had the privilege too, and I see it as a privilege of watching my stepfather transition, and my kids got to see it. I also got to see my uncle transition. I got to see my cousin transition. And to me, it's I want to go the same way. I want to have that space where I am in the transition and my children watch that. That's where all this teaching of we are just a physical machine. It's the essence and the soul of us that really goes, right? You know, the body is just the body. But how brilliant of it is that, yes, my father, both my fathers, my cousin will never see that sunrise again. They will never see that sunset. So you know what? It's that much more sweeter. The air smells that much more, vibrant and alive. Trees, everything is that much more alive because I've got to witness that, right? So perspective, choice, practice. It's up to me what I'm going to do. And yes, there are going to be days that I want to eat ice cream all day because I just
I do personal training, and I just got an invitation to go do another bodybuilding show, and I'm 2 weeks into my diet, and I'm trying to do my diet.
I am. I'm an anxiety eater. I love ice cream, so that's the first place I go. Yeah.
If you would have saw me the other day, now this happened 2 days in a row, and I wasn't very disciplined, but I don't regret it at all. Okay.
Right?
I'm 2 weeks into my diet, and I'm eating the same things over and over again. It's 6 to 8 times out of the day for 2 weeks. I'm just like, I need something different, right? And so I poured out my food for that morning because I was going to cook, meal prep for the day and everything. So, I cook a lot of food during the mornings, you know what I'm saying, while I'm cooking my breakfast and everything. And so I'm sitting up here, I'm going, I left it in the sink. It wasn't fully thawed out. I ended up going somewhere and grabbing 2 large pieces and a 2-liter Mountain Dew.
And you just went to town.
I did. I'm not ashamed.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. I hope you enjoyed every single slice of that pizza, man.
No. The next following day, I was supposed to be back on, and I didn't. I went and got 2 packs of cookies and a gallon of ice cream.
But you know what? Hey, why not? Right? Like, why?
Well, you got to remember too. Like when we train in the physical aspect, especially when we're getting ready for competitions and things like that, those 2 little mistakes right there could put you back so far, right? Now, with that being said, I have no regrets of doing it at all.
I was going to say, did it make you happy?
It made me very happy.
Exactly. One of the things that grief, our family, when we've always in grief, is we eat, right? When I tell you, we're Italian, right? So everyone, when you're happy, we feed you. When you're sad, we feed you. So it's this space of we find comfort, not to our detriment, but comfort in a space of food because it's also a space of gathering. Mm-hmm. So there is these moments where, yes, when the anxiety gets too much and I get overwhelmed, I do go for a place where there is comfort. Am I overindulging? I probably shouldn't have had the 3rd scoop, but you know what? It's going to be okay. In the grand scheme of things. So for the listeners out there, please don't deny yourself that extra ice cream. Tony, you have built such a beautiful, beautiful platform. And I know I've totally gone over your time.
No, you're fine. See, that's the one thing I always tell people, look, man, I'm on your time. I'm busy, right? We go as long as we want. If you've ever watched any of my episodes, they go pretty long. I got episodes. So you're good in there. Don't put yourself on a time limit.
Okay. I am so excited about that we have these opportunities to connect with folks clear across the US. Never been to Colorado. Heard it's absolutely stunning. Right. So I don't know if you've ever been to, what was that?
You gotta come and visit,
I've heard, man.
You gotta come and visit. I mean, if you like the Carolinas and you like the mountains and everything.
I'm more of a beach person. So this is the most
beaches here. We got private lakes.
I know. This is the most inland I've ever lived. Again, living in New York, I lived on the East Coast. I've always traveled East Coast, West Coast, a little bit of Southern Coast. But really seeing the inland, I've never really done, and I definitely want to do it. But again, how these platforms give us an opportunity to connect with so many folks. I'm speaking with a woman this week who's in Canada. I just did a podcast with a woman who's in the UK, and that's like, God, this is just so incredibly brilliant why we have what we have, and to connect with as many folks, right? So I hope that this, reaches who needs to hear it. And I've found that every podcast that I've done, I've always tapped into someone. And I am very grateful to you that you are open to receive what I said, and hope that it definitely, leads you into the greater purpose that I see ahead for you.
Well, I'm still walking the path. I'm still learning. I'm still a student of this craft. I'm still beating on it. You know what I'm saying? I'm still pounding it into place and everything, and what I mean by that, not just, not physically pounding it, but extracting knowledge, right? You know what I'm saying? There was a quote that was said by Will Smith, your gift is manifested by hours and hours and hours of beating on it, molding it to place, letting it take shape, and then, giving it away. And then taking that back and going, okay, this worked, this did it. This is your gift. Your gift is there. It's inside of us, right? So hours and hours and hours of just beating on that craft, of just wanting to understand and serve, and because that's what I believe I'm here for. I believe I'm here to serve people to the best of my ability in this particular field. No matter where it takes me, I'm willing to go. So I may fight it for a little bit and this, that, and other, but I don't fight it for too long. It's just that me thinking outside of myself and going, what? This is what I want over here, right? That's why I surround myself with millionaires and stuff like that, because I'm trying to figure out how they did it. How did your success come? So I learned about these different things. So, and just like grief, I learn from people, even myself as well. It's like, okay, well, that makes sense,
Yeah.
And so something that I had been working on, I'm working on a few projects. I'm working on one with grief and men, grief and pregnancy, miscarriage. Right. So men in pregnancy loss. And you just did something there where I was just like, man, get out of my head, please. Like, because you hit something on the head. And it was like, I'm working on another project about grief and being authentic as a man. As we walk through that grief. And after talking to you, I'm just going, okay, I get it now. You can only hit me in the head for so many times before I just go, okay, I got to step into the fear in order to get past the fear. It's just unknown territory for me, And
you know what? But you're not alone in that. For
right.
myself, I am at times still in question of like, what am I really supposed to do?
Right.
I don't even. It's like, am I really supposed to move towards focusing on mental wellness? And yes, my two boys also, we travel the world of the autism spectrum, so I'm with that as well. But then like the whole idea about our minds, where I'm like, you know what, I think we're all on this freaking spectrum. Like, it's like, it just doesn't make sense. I feel like we all have a bit of it, which makes us so incredibly amazing. There's not one brain that's built the same way. So when I see things as being so practical, I know that the majority of us don't. So it just ignites that fire even more to be like, all right, we all need that come to Jesus together and get to the point that, let's stop fighting. Let's stop going against the grain in that space. And then let's work together. Let's collaborate.
Right.
And then there are times where, this idea of intuitive healing, we're all intuitive. We all have, if you want to say, this psychic ability, if you want to use that word, every single one of us does. That's how we make decisions, is right. We make decisions from, when you talk about these wealthy millionaires, Warren Buffett specifically, how does he make his decision? From his gut, right?
Yeah.
Your gut is your intuition. It's trusting, even if you will fail, right? But define failure. It's just, well, that didn't work out, so I'm going to try it again. And to me, that's where this whole idea about shifting perspective. My perspective is my truth, but when I shift it to see it from another angle, there are times where I do this practice where I'll take my cell phone out and I will look through my cell phone, through the eyes of my cell phone in a different part of my house. And sometimes I'm like, dang, I got a beautiful house. But then when I'm not looking through my phone, I'm like, oh my God, it's a disaster, right? But it's sitting in different spots and seeing it from a different angle.
Right.
And to me, that's life. It's like choosing to see it from a different angle. But if you choose, and it is choice, and you say, I don't have a choice, but you do have a choice. Tragedy is tragedy. Grief is grief, no matter how you look at it. But it's how you choose to tackle that grief. And understand that it's a move through. It's not a one and doneer.
Right.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
There is no one and doneer. It's not like a set it and forget it, right? I mean, it's going to come up again. And that's something, again, that I had to learn, is that as much as I want to control things, I want to be on step 10. Well, 1 through 9 didn't happen yet.
Right.
So I'm doing a tremendous disservice to myself and my growth if I don't give myself that opportunity to get through 1 through 9. Now, mind you, I do go through kicking and screaming. And I do curse. Yeah, I curse a lot. And my Brooklyn comes out and my hands are flying. Right? If I'm eventually getting to 10, then okay, I've made it to 10, but you know what? 1 just opened up again, right? Got to 10, that closed. Well, here comes 1 again. So it's like, gosh, dang it. Here we go again. Choice.
Yes.
Choice. And it's also stepping into the space of vulnerability and allowing my story to be shared with you and with other folks too.
Right.
And doing it in the hopes of, you know what? I also look for abundance, right? I mean, I am in a space, not so much monetary, but of abundance in the whole. Right. Yes, monetary. Yes, love. Yes, success. Yes, my kids to be healthy and happy. I want that abundance, and I want abundance for all. For I truly believe there is enough for everybody.
And there's a lot out here if we all choose to claim it. Correct. And that's as you said, choice. If you choose to claim it, work your butt off and get it. right? You know what I'm saying? Let the universe change you. Let this life mold you into who you're supposed to be, because I'm a firm believer. You can ask for it, right? And if it doesn't come right away, well, think of it in a different way. Maybe you're too full. You're too full for it to fill you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's just like blessings, right? You know what I'm saying? You feel that you have all these blessings and yet you want more. And God's going, I have a whole lot for you, right? But I can't give it to you because you're too full of the blessings, right? So what he has to do, he has to empty that out. And that's where that kicking and screaming comes over at, right? Because we know that we want this over here. And we go, okay, I'm already full. I can't, I want this over here, but now I have to change that whole perspective to something different. How that happens is that now I have to empty everything else out of me that I thought that I needed, right?
Or it served its purpose.
Or it served its purpose, yes.
Right. So now it's time to refill with what's the brand new stuff, right? What's supposed to come in. And also, I want to say that also filling it up with where I say where grief manifests itself in different ways, it's going to come back again, right? Mm-hmm. So energies that we, again, it's not one and doneer. It's going to make its way back.
Oh, yeah.
And it'll fill in a different space and the lesson will be different. And I was like, I thought I had it all taken care of. And it's like, well, no, you know what? You did have it taken care of for that portion, right? But now that's something else. There's another level to be learned. Mm-hmm. And that's where the idea of honing your craft, right? Really honing in on what's more out there. I know that, again, into traditional therapy, I think it's fantastic. I also see a energy healer, which is pretty much what I do. And I remember when I first went to her, she was like, oh, you're definitely this healer. And I'm like, heck no, I can barely take care of myself. You want me to go and start helping other people? Are you kidding? The idea of, it was so exhausting. But when I stopped kicking and screaming over the gift that I was given, is like, you know what? Yeah, I am this healer on this planet to help those and myself acknowledge bravery, right? That now I'm firmly in that space. Well, I'm going to wear that jacket and keep adding more patches to it the best that I can. Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like the Boys and Girls Scout. You got patches.
Heck, man, I'll take it and add those cookies to it because I'll take those too.
Put me in for a box of Thin Mints.
Exactly.
2 of them.
I want tag-alongs. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to take what I can. And also the importance of, I've always been a talker since I'm a young girl. I've always loved to connect with people. One of the best things I loved when I travel is the fact that I'll sit with people in the coffee shop and who has no one sitting next to them. And I'm like, hey, do you mind if I sit with you? And you'd be surprised how many folks don't turn that away. Right. Because we're so, inundated on our phone or on our tablet or whatever. When you offer to sit with someone, it's like, oh my God, it's human connection.
Yes. And I think it's important nowadays, especially with COVID and this whole quarantine and everything else that's been going on, people being impacted. And we've been away from each other for almost 2 years. And
I want to say we've been away from each other much longer than that. I think that, not that social media and technology isn't a brilliant aspect, but I believe it's taken us further away from when we talk about, gathering and having gatherings and, yes, family members, as we evolved, had to move around the country or around the world.
Yes.
However, the importance of connecting with each other and just sharing a cup of coffee or sharing a cup of tea, right? Just sharing a drink. One of the things that I found that when I was on my journey of discovering all of this and knowing I really wasn't alone, whether it be someone online at my local, store, in the coffee shop, I may not see them ever again, but at that moment, there was an exchange that needed to happen.
There you go. I love that. Definitely love that. Now, with the people listening today, if you had any words of encouragement to give them, what would you give them? What would you say to them?
I would say, brave on, folks. Take every moment that you have and just close your eyes and acknowledge how incredibly brave you are for waking up every morning and choosing to participate in your life.
There you go.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you?
I have a website, braverybrigade.com. I'm on Instagram under Amy Gonzalez Nelson with an E. I'm on Facebook under Amy Gonzalez Nelson with an E. And I'm always putting videos out, and I'm doing other podcasts. Hopefully we'll manifest a book out there, right? You could speak with some
We're working on it.
And speaking. So that's how you could get a hold of me. So I do individual coaching. I call it intuitive soul polishing. So it's a one-on-one, and we go through the process that I created called the 4-piece to piece. And it's a journey that we decide to go as long as it wants and as short as it wants. It's all about you, but it's the idea of you not needing me, but wanting that growth, and then off you go.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Everyone out there listening in, hopefully you guys picked up on those nuggets that she was putting out there, man. I had a blast talking with her, and please get a hold of her. Information will be down below. Leave us a comment. Tell us what you think. Rate us. Just subscribe and just have a blast. Enjoy the conversations and everything. And until next time, you guys keep your head up. And as Amy said, brave on. And, keep moving forward, because your authentic self is still waiting for you. And it's usually waiting for you in your most hardest moments. And as Amy has put out there today, I need to face my fears as well and step forward. And till next time, you guys stay cool, keep your head up, and don't try to fix someone who doesn't need to be fixed.
Thank you so much, Tony.